I was just talking with Antoine, and he shamed me. He's like, why didn't you go out on the Eagle? I thought the Eagle was bigger than it was. So I'm like, kind of cold. In a way, I'm like, this is a bad idea. But another way, I'm like, I gotta try this.
What's up, everybody? It's Jeremy here from Ocean Bound. So, my apologies. This video has literally been sitting in the cans for a while, and it's just really been bugging me that I never had time to sit down and put it together. And I was stoked to get to demo this F1 Eagle 990 thanks to my wing dealer, Phil at kitesight.net. And these are my thoughts over the 990 after I've had 3 sessions with it. So initially I can say that the 990 is just a much different experience than the Phantom. And the first thing you notice is just getting up on foil. You kind of needed some speed, and I couldn't really pump it up and out of the water the way that I could with like the Phantom, or like kind of how I'm used to doing it with my Army foils. I feel like I needed a slightly different angle to get up on foil, like bearing off slightly downwind, and that seemed to work the best. It's funny how you're thinking something doesn't really work and you can change just one little thing, like a couple degrees, and that's just gonna have all the difference in the world. So that was me struggling a little bit when I was underpowered, but when I had enough power, I was up on foil totally easily. I rode the XX Fuse and the DW210 HM Stab, and it felt fast and smooth, you know. So I thought the Phantom felt really nice, and especially its speed, it felt really stable, but this thing was just noticeably smoother, like butter. It was a different feeling of fast. In one sesh I rode the Phantom and the Eagle back to back, and I got them both up to the same speed, 22 miles an hour, but the Phantom felt fine and stable, but that Eagle at 22 was just a different level of smooth. It speaks to its efficiency. You know, you could just feel like there was just a lot less going on under your feet, like you were kind of floating. So my first 2 sessions were on the light side. The first one I was underpowered on a 4.5 meter. The second one I was kind of slightly, underpowered on a 6.5 meter. Both sessions I was basically just doing speed runs, carving, jiving, and tacking with it. The tacks are great, smooth, and a really nice upwind glide, and just in general the glide was nice. Better than my stock Army setup on a 925. I didn't pump a ton with it, but it felt both smooth and natural, just kind of like a natural cadence, and for being high aspect with a really wide wingspan, the Eagle cranked downwind jives. And rail to rail, this thing just turns great for something with like such a high aspect ratio. So I was on the XXS Fuse, and the pitch control just totally wasn't an issue at any speed. When you compare this to a 60 centimeter Army Fuse, and that's not their shortest fuse, they have like a 50, the 60's kind of their stock to intermediate, and the 70's for maybe beginners or windsurfers. So when you compare it to that, the XXS Fuse is actually longer than the 60 centimeter Army Fuse. So I would think even longer would just mean more stable at high speeds, but I really enjoyed how this thing turned, and I don't think I'd change anything except for maybe going a little shorter on the fuse. I didn't ride it back to back with my Army wings, but I'd say trying to crank up wind with this is the same, if not slightly better than my Army stuff. The third sesh I had, I was way overpowered, uber gusty conditions, and it was cold. All I could really do was either jump, crank up wind, or just try to hold on for dear life doing like a speed run across the bay. And so something I kept running into that session is that the mast ventilated a lot, especially going, sidewind or slightly upwind or even downwind. I was using the aluminum mast, and it was nice because it was heavy and stable, but with the side chop that we were seeing all the way on the other side of the bay, sometimes you'd kind of feel like, the waves were either pushing the mast or sucking it from the back. And sometimes when a wave comes by from the side, it would kind of, as it passes behind it, it would kind of suck as it goes past and behind the mast, and that would sometimes draw air down and ventilate it. So that's not the foil, that's the mast. But it's weird because I can't remember a time where I've ever had an aluminum mast and it's ventilated like this. They're usually pretty solid. So like I did say, the conditions were pretty prime for jumping. So I happened to get some good air because I was totally overpowered on that 5.5 meter. And the re-entry was just not bad at all for going in on the angle, probably because it was mostly flat, and so it would slip right into the water. If your re-entry was kind of flat, it would slow down a little, but the cool thing is it wanted to stay at the top of the water. Like the Army, you go in and then you can kind of steer it right back up, but this, like, it goes in and wants to stay up there, and it kind of makes a nice stable recovery. So I like that. It made recovery and riding away easy. And then re-entry was noticeably better than the Phantom. Pleasure Bay is about a half mile across, so by the other side on this day it was blowing like 30. So this made speed runs pretty hard because you kind of had to pick a line, like navigating through this like chop that had like no rhyme or reason to it. And sometimes I'd pick the wrong line, but I was so lit on this 5.5, crazy gusting over 30-mile-an-hour winds. But man, this thing rips. I clocked 27 miles an hour and I was holding on for dear life, going slightly downwind, and it was super scary because there was just no consistent rhythm to the waves that you could like kind of lock into. So I feel like a flatter water sesh with a lot of wind, I bet you I could have gone a little faster. But this is now tied for as fast as I could get my Army foils to go. Now I want so badly to try this thing in waves, but I think I need to be, you know, a little better at getting it up on foil or just totally lit to try it in some good waves. I assume it's gonna be awesome for those big days where you could just kind of catch those waves way far out and ride them all the way in. I actually liked the way the 990 turned better than the Phantom actually. It felt really good in a turn, like you were on rails. It's like you could crank the turn, but you could feel your body and the G-force just felt good. It's really hard to explain that, but it's actually influenced the way I'm riding my Army gear, and now I'm trying to kind of emulate the turns and their associated feelings that I got when I was demoing this 990. So those are my thoughts. The F1 Eagle 990. If you want to see some more of my videos, please consider clicking that subscribe button. Drop a comment, let me know if you've ridden one of these Eagles or if they're in your quiver, and let me know what you think. And with that, I hope all of you guys are doing well out there. I'll see you guys soon on the flip, and I wish you all an awesome day. Later!